Welcome to You Are Your Name. I am Daken Ariel, and my co-host is Marlowe Shearing. Our guest today is Garett Hennigan, who's very qualified to cover topics on the Kabalarian Philosophy. He's been part of the head office for, must be 30 years, Garett?
Sounds like it, yes. It feels like it.
Garett's developed the website, and he developed the online courses, and he's in charge of the new students with the support class on a weekly basis. How many episodes of that have you gotten?
I think we're somewhere around 180 since 2020 when we started it. Not every Thursday, but about 2 or 3 Thursdays a month.
So if someone enrolls in life analysis training, they can go back and listen to any of those classes as part of an archive.
It has a full archive, and again, we do the live ones on the Thursdays. We cover a range of topics to support the people in their online studies. And it's very interesting. We take some questions and we do a brief name analysis.
You usually have a guest who's an instructor of one of the courses, and so you can do course level questions or questions on life in general.
Yes, we have a series of guests we rotate through, and many of them are the instructors who are part of the online class. So it's an opportunity for the new students to both see the instructors, but also to see the other students wherever they are in the world and give them a little bit of support that they're not alone.
Sure. So our topic today is happiness, and we've already initiated this on episode 8, which was on an article by Alfred J. Parker called Happiness. And there was also an episode 9, which was Happy Thoughts or Healthy Thoughts, which was based on another article by Mr. Ivan Shearing, who's taught the philosophy for over 60 years. So I wanted to get back to that topic, but relate it more directly to name. So is there a connection to name and happiness?
Yes. If we think of the concept of happiness, I think if you ask anybody in the world, they would recognize that having a happy attitude is a very positive energy in your life in creating the circumstances that you attract. Somebody who's in a dark mood and they go shopping at a grocery store, chances are they're going to get a grumpy cashier who's abrupt with them, and they'll say, they'll have this experience that, well, that person was rude and I'm never going to go shop in that store. Versus another person who's happy, upbeat, enjoying life. They go to the store, they meet people in the aisles, they have nice interchanges with, they drop something on the floor, somebody helps them pick it up. They have a nice cashier who's super polite, asks them how they're doing. So our attitude is the driving force of what happens in our day-to-day experiences. And for that matter, day after day becomes our life experiences. And so that is a very important point to remember, is our attitude. And so the happy attitude is the one of optimism. It's the one where there's like a smile on your lips. You're not laughing, but there's a buoyancy. And that is something we have to be conscious to create in our thinking. The problem arises that what really creates our thinking, and many people strive to be happy, but the reality is the influence of name and also the understanding of what the whole principle of life is all about. And I know in previous podcasts we've talked a lot about name and so forth, but if we want to be happy, what we have to do is understand what creates our thinking. And the power of the name and what it does is critical to that. And so that is why the Kabalarian philosophy teaches this understanding of mathematics and language, and how through the alphabet become symbols of intelligence. You combine them into a name, you give that name to a child, and it's like a chord of intelligence that creates this personality with positive characteristics, some negative, a mixture, and a resulting life that unfolds through time because of that name.
Now, you mentioned constructive and destructive qualities of intelligence. In the philosophy, they teach the 1 to 9 principle, where each number represents a quality or a set of qualities, and they can be either positive or negative. So really, would you say you can't be really happy unless you live the positive qualities? Otherwise, you're living within the negative.
Yes, and I mean, you have to live the positive qualities and not express the negative. But the thing is, if a name has been given without a knowledge of how to create the balance, then what happens is the mind becomes tuned to certain negative expressions, and that becomes the reality of their thinking. So, for example, if somebody is given the name of Terry, which we may have analyzed in a previous class as being a 595 combination, which makes a person very intense, very driven, restless. Usually they get impatient if things aren't going their way. For example, that person who's going to this grocery store, they're at the cash and the cashier is weighing their broccoli and they don't know the code for it and it's taking time. She's trying to look it up on a list. The 595 name will create this intensity in this person, and they may not verbalize it, but within themselves they're thinking, I got to get to this other appointment, and why is this person taking so long? Don't they know their job? This whole mental stream of consciousness is sometimes not verbalized, but many times it is. They'll say, well, don't you know the code? And then the person goes and calls their supervisor, and the person starts almost grinding in their thinking. And we often say that the 595 name, as an example, will have stomach issues, ulcers. Well, that's because of this intensity of thinking. They're going, well, why don't they get their act together? I mean, don't they train the people here? And on and on and on. So that thinking is a negative expression of the 5 quality when it's combined improperly in a name. And so that person may have read a self-help seminar saying, well, you should be happy, Terry, and be upbeat. They can try and they can make a little bit of a difference through just positive will. I guess you could also look at another example we've used. It's like you have a stake in the ground and a person's on a bungee cord. And the 595 characteristics of the intensity, the ambition, this restlessness, that's that stake. If they're strapped with a bungee cord, they can move so far away from it with will and, okay, well, I've got to take a deep breath. That's right. I took that course last week and it said, take a deep breath so I can relax. But they get to a certain point, we'll think of the same example in the store. The cashier says, look, I'm going to have somebody go out to the produce department and get the code for that. The person just can't take it. And they snap back to that 595 and say some sarcastic remark. So that's just one example of how the name is the driving force. And so the Kabalarian philosophy teaches that to create harmony in the individual, you have to balance the name mathematically to the inner potential, which I think has also been covered earlier. And the inner potential is determined from the date of birth. And that's your potential in life. All inner potentials are positive. The problem is that when certain combinations are in the name, it doesn't allow that positive flow, that natural flow of the constructive energies of mind, which are 1 to 9, and you get these discordant, and really any attempt of trying to keep happy thoughts, and they have this 595 name is like having a big pipe that has a big hole in it, and you're not welding it, you're just putting little Band-Aids on it. It's temporary.
If Terry balances his name, so he's balanced the principle of how those qualities of intelligence flow through him, but he still has some mental habits from the past. Maybe he's lived as Terry for 25 years. We teach the principles of mental freedom. And I wondered if you can discuss how the balanced name is the start, but then they have to learn to develop that positive expression.
Exactly. There's many people that, let's say they would get a name report on their name. Terry reads the description. Yeah, I am like that. They go, okay, well, I'm going to change my name to a balanced name. So they contact us, give them some choices of balanced names. They pick a name, they legalize it, and they say, now I am Ross Brown. And so they start going through life, and the fact that they have made the change will create a certain amount of resulting change in their life because they are the new name. But like you said, they've had that old name for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. And so that's a tree that's maybe grown a little bit offshoot. And so the new name is like grafting on new branches to create a different expression. But the change will happen over time, but it's accelerated when the person understands what the whole principle of life is, that they have an inner potential, they have a mind. Where are they going? What's the ultimate purpose in life? And the concept of understanding what mental freedom is as a step-by-step process of refinement, recognizing the negative expressions, which were unfortunately a part of that name that they were originally given, and saying, no, I am going to take a deep breath when I'm in those situations. But the thing is with the balanced name, instead of being driven by the qualities of that original name, it gives them, in a sense, just a little bit of a moment to make a decision, saying, no, I won't express like that. But when they have that original name, they don't get to that. They go straight to the emotional quality of that name. So with the balanced name, it gives the person the opportunity to make a decision. No, I won't express those qualities, but now I will express the positive qualities. I'll be patient. I'll realize maybe this person's just a first day. I don't know. So why jump to conclusions? But you have to have a reason to be able to make that decision. And rather than just waiting on the balanced name through time to make the changes, which it will always do, understanding this principle of mental improvement that the Kabalarian philosophy teaches of mental freedom, then the mind has a sense of progress. It's knowing where it's going. And in that step-by-step process of refinement, the mind is becoming more conscious of their thinking, life around them. They're thinking now rather than feeling. This is an important transitional state that really is the birthright of every human being. We come into emotion as a baby, we cry, we want to have the bottle, and we go through this process of refinement so that we can think more and control our emotions and be happier consistently and not be affected by somebody is abrupt with us. Do we get abrupt back? Do we just change like a chameleon to whatever we encounter in life? And so the Kabalarian philosophy teaches that principle of refinement to a state of mental freedom. And in that mental freedom, we become ultimately more conscious of life, more conscious of the principle of life. And really that's part of this bigger principle that the Kabalarian philosophy teaches, that this power involves with the first breath and should evolve back to merge back with that universal consciousness.
Happiness is such an important quality to all people. Is happiness the same for everyone? Is it something that could be just defined as a happy outlook on life, or is happiness something more to a Kabalarian student?
Many times in life, people associate happiness with some type of emotional experience. They're happy because they got a new car. They're happy because they were able to go skiing, or they went on a holiday, or they got married, or whatever it is. They're all events that are really an emotional thrill that society is associated. Well, now you're happy because you've had that. But those events are very instantaneous. You got your new car today. What about tomorrow? Are you still as happy as you were the previous day? And after a month, you've had the car, you can still enjoy it. But happiness is really a sense of well-being and a sense of knowing that you're expressing your purpose in life. That's different for each person because everybody has a different inner potential, which is their birth path, which are qualities from 1 to 9. And so you have different qualities of birth path, and they will find their harmony in the expression of that birth path. So, for example, a 1 birth path is meant to be the pioneer. And so in coming up with new ideas and pioneering new endeavors in life. Now, if that mind is expressing that potential, that is where the true happiness will come. They're a positive contributor to life because they're expressing that inner potential through their mind into life. Another person may be a 3 birth path, and so their role is to be this expressive power. So when they're doing that particular role, they're entertaining, they're teaching, or just bringing some optimism to even a one-on-one conversation, they have a sense of happiness because that is this natural harmony, the natural flow of energy. So really you can say the positive flow of energy through our minds is what is happiness. And if we have an ache, we've maybe ate too much for dinner. We had 2, 3 helpings, and now our stomach hurts. Are we still happy? Well, we can put on a brave smile, but because our energy is down, we're not able to be as so buoyant. We're not expressing our potential. So we don't feel this sense of freedom that we're expressing our potential into life. So it varies. Each person will find happiness in different ways, but the true happiness is this joy of living each day as a conscious, growing mind. And that's what at the core of the Kabalarian philosophy is, to teach these principles of name, of cycles, of health, of balanced diet, mental freedom. That's what creates this flow of energy that a person recognizes as, it's great to be alive. It's a wonderful world. Life is to be loved. And if they have that sense, they are living as a truly constructive, happy mind. And we always have to hold on to that state of mind and not let anything affect our quality of thinking, our quality of mental freedom. And we're just this positive quality as we go through life.
So this is slightly off topic, but is the Kabalarian philosophy a spiritual philosophy?
What's the definition of spiritual? And if we say that spiritual is the expression of our potential, we would say that the Kabalarian philosophy is truly a spiritual philosophy, because it deals with the practicality of how to bring this happy, constructive energy of mind into reality. And it's not just sitting alone out in the woods meditating. People think, oh, a person's being spiritual. But what are they contributing? They come back in the city. Do they have some new thoughts? Are they a positive energy? Do they help people? And so we see the spiritual as really the expression of that spiritual potential that came with that first breath. And that is an energy of giving, an energy of progress, an energy of lightness that is really the birthright of each person who takes that first breath. And the Kabalarian philosophy, through those principles which we talked about, allows the person to use those principles to make that a reality in their life and a reality in life in general.
Can a person with an unbalanced name, without the understanding of these principles of mental freedom, can they be happy?
Let's say from that name combination of Terry, there are Terrys who don't put forth any effort and are just in that mental state of intensity and sarcasm and everything else. And there are Terrys who've put forth the effort to be more progressive and try to be patient. And so they can experience a certain degree of happiness because they're free from those intense emotions. But again, it's a partial, I wouldn't even call it a fulfillment. They've improved their life, but it really isn't the expression of their potential, because they may be a two birth path. And a two birth path is meant to be this person that merges people together, the natural diplomat that creates harmony amongst people. So if that's their inner potential, how would they, with this name that throws in the odd sarcastic comment, be able to achieve that harmony amongst people? Because their very nature tends to be a little bit bristly, like a little bit of a thorn, and it drives people away. So they may find some joy. The five likes nature. Maybe they go skiing. They can have some fun, but they're not getting to the true core, the true lasting quality of happiness, where those other ones are really temporal experiences of joy, which are part of life. There's nothing wrong with them, but that's not where you're going to find this peace of mind that comes with expressing your inner potential.
So there is a connection between happiness and mental freedom.
Yes, you can't say, well, I'm mentally free, but I'm in a mood. They go together. And if you're happy, you must be mentally free because you're not affected by moods. So it's another description for that state of mind. But mental freedom, in a sense, is more descriptive because it says that you have to be free of these negative expressions, which are unfortunately part of many names, most names, and are really part of society as a whole. Over generations, certain qualities have been expressed and people have accepted them. Like, if you get angry, get it off your chest. Yell at the person, get rid of it, don't keep it internal. Well, why are you angry in the first place? What is the quality that's creating that? And that's the difference is that mental freedom describes that, well, we're getting free of these emotions and reaching this happy state. But we have to also focus on keeping that happy state and keeping that state of mental freedom. I guess they're describing two sides of the same coin.
Thank you, Garett. I think that's a broad picture of happiness. I really appreciate your thoughts. Did you have any final thoughts, Marlowe?
No, it's very interesting. You're saying then that there's not just a perspective of happiness of a glass half full or a glass half empty, that there's actually a state of thinking that one can reach and then express that quality.
Right. Thanks for asking me on, Daken and Marlowe, and look forward to chatting with you at a future time.
If you're interested in exploring the Kabalarian philosophy further, download our free quotes apps from the Android and Apple app stores. Just search for Kabalarian Philosophy, that's Kabalarian Philosophy, and you will find two apps, the Kabalarian Philosophy and Kabalarian Philosophy 2. And they both include many quotes and excerpts from writings of the Kabalarian Philosophy. That concludes the episode for this week. Join us next week for more on this topic. Until then, happy thoughts. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways we can help you. Number 1, the Balanced Name Recommendation Service. Join the thousands of others who have harmonized their names with their inner potential to improve their health, happiness, and success. Number 2, learn the principles of mental freedom. Participate in our online training program to gain the essential tools to create all the progressive changes you seek in your life. These proven truths will open up new perspectives and accelerate your attainment of health, happiness, and success. Number 3, let Kalex Solutions help you choose a balanced name for your business, because many business names are an impediment to one's overall business success.